That morning, everything seemed as usual. I woke up to the sound of my alarm, groggy but ready to face the day. After taking a refreshing shower, I got dressed for work in my typical attire, grabbed my briefcase, and headed out for the meetings that awaited me. The day unfolded like any other Friday. Busy, filled with negotiations, and consumed by the constant demands of my job. During one of my lunch breaks, I decided to take a moment for myself and headed to the gallery across from my office. It was a place I often frequented for a quick meal and a brief escape from my hectic schedule. When noon arrived, I settled down at a small table, enjoying a simple sandwich while taking in the art surrounding me. As I sat there, lost in my thoughts, a woman took the seat next to me. I noticed her immediately, intrigued by her presence. She reached for my drink, and before I could process the situation, she turned to me and spoke softly. "You don't need to move anything from me, John." Her words caught me off guard. Looking into her deep eyes, I couldn't help but ask, "Do I know you?" She smiled slightly but shook her head, saying, "No, we've never met before, and honestly, I wish we didn't have to meet now either." Confused, I struggled to understand why this beautiful stranger seemed to know me. She extended her hand, introducing herself as Stella Holmes. We shook hands and she continued, "I'll only take a few minutes of your time. There's something we need to talk about." My mind raced with questions, and I looked around, half expecting someone to jump out and declare this was all a joke. But there was no one. Turning back to her, I felt the weight of her gaze. "I don't know you, so I have no idea what you want to talk about. Maybe I should just go." As I began to gather my things, her hand gently touched mine. "Please, John, just give me 10 minutes. After that, I won't bother you again." Reluctantly, I put my things down. "All right, you have 10 minutes, I replied, starting the stopwatch on my watch. Stella took a deep breath and began speaking slowly, almost in a whisper. "John, my husband has been having an affair for the last 6 months, and that woman is your wife, Sue." The moment I heard her words, they echoed in my ears, but my mind refused to accept them. "Stella, I'm really sorry, but I think you've got the wrong person. My wife loves me, and I love her. We've been married for about 15 years, and I bet I'm the only man she's ever known." Yet, the sadness in Stella's eyes told a different story. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope, placing it on the table in front of her. "I'm really sorry, John. I know how hard this is, but everything I've told you is true. The other woman is definitely Sue." She pointed at the envelope, adding, "Inside this envelope are photos, a DVD, and a private investigator's report." As I took the envelope, she held my hand and looked into my eyes. "Please, John, watch this after I leave. My advice is to not open it until you've had some time alone. It will take time to go through everything, but it will take even longer to process." I felt a surge of anger. "What the hell is this?" I snapped, raising my voice slightly. "What do you want from me?" Her voice remained calm but firm. "I've told you, John. Your wife is cheating with my husband. You're asking what I want, aren't you?" She paused, lowered her eyes, and took a deep breath. "I don't want anything from you. I just want your forgiveness." Confusion washed over me. Forgiveness? Why would I forgive you? Stella slowly stood up, and silence filled the air between us. "I've given you all the information you need. Who needs forgiveness is up to you to decide. But let me tell you this. I had to tell you this personally. You deserve that. Secondly, I want your wife out of Justin's life." Then she leaned in closer, whispering in my ear, "I believe Sue loves you. So please, think carefully about how you'll respond to this. Don't just react in pain." Her words weighed heavily on me, and I felt torn, unsure of how to process the situation. As Stella began to walk away without looking back, I instinctively grabbed her hand, compelled to ask one last question. "What will you do about your husband?" She turned to me, her expression cold, and answered in a stern voice, "I'll confront him on Sunday." After that, if he can't convince me within a week that he'll never cheat again, I'll leave him without his reputation, his money, and his manhood. When I returned to the office, I was in a daze, unable to focus on my work. I couldn't find a private place to open the envelope, so I waited for the day to end. Finally, at 6:30 p.m., I arrived home. I dropped my bag on the floor and made my way to the bedroom. Sue was there, watching TV. The moment she saw me, she jumped up, wrapped her arms around me tightly, and planted a kiss on my lips. I stood frozen, the weight of Stella's revelation heavy on my mind, knowing that everything in my life was about to change. Every day since we got married, Sue greeted me with a bright smile, her eyes lighting up as she asked, "You're home early today. What's going on?" Her playful tone always made me feel welcomed, and I cherished these moments of connection. However, this particular day felt different. When I playfully suggested that she might have a date with another man, she laughed and tapped my shoulder, exclaiming, "What a terrible accusation. I'm volunteering at the church's annual auction tomorrow, so I'll be busy all day. Now, apologize." As I searched her face for any hint of deception, I found none. I hugged her tightly, whispering an apology, but inside me, a whirlwind of questions stirred. After dinner, I loaded my fishing gear into the car, planning a trip to the lake to clear my head. But once I settled down in front of the TV, sleep eluded me. Around 1 a.m., I noticed Sue cuddling close to me, her warmth a reminder of the love we once shared. She gently moved her hand toward me, and when she realized I was awake, she whispered in my ear, "Are you awake?" "I can't sleep." Her soft giggle broke the silence, and she teasingly asked, "Can't sleep or can't manage some fun?" But her playful words echoed in my mind, leaving me with an unsettling feeling. I tossed and turned in bed until 4 a.m. when I finally gave up, dressing quietly and heading to the lake. By the time I arrived at the lake house, the sun was just about to rise. I grabbed a carton of orange juice from the fridge, settled into a white rocking chair, and watched the sun illuminate the horizon. The beauty of the sunrise temporarily soothed my troubled mind, but eventually, fatigue overtook me and I dozed off. When I awoke, the orange juice was warm and half empty, the sun now high in the sky. I muttered softly to myself, standing up, but I realized I needed to rest. I had come to the lake to confront a difficult reality. Weighed down by my thoughts, I grabbed a bottle of water and an envelope that had been waiting for me. Feeling overwhelmed, I muttered a frustrated, "Damn it," and opened the envelope. Inside was a second envelope and a 2-page letter attached to it. As I unfolded the letter, my heart sank. "John, I don't know what to say as I give you this letter, so please forgive me if I repeat myself. My name is Stella Holmes, and my husband, Justin Holmes, has been with your wife, Sue, for the past 6 months." Each word felt like a stab to my heart. As I continued reading, the anger inside me ignited. Enclosed in the envelope is a report from the private investigator, photos, and a DVD. Before you look through them, think about how much you love Sue and what that love means to you. Reflect on how your love has brought you to where you are now. The relationship is over, and it's no longer threatening your marriage. Now you must ask yourself, can you forgive her? Are you ready to fight for your marriage? The letter continued, urging me to consider my feelings before opening the second envelope. I felt the weight of the moment pressing down on me, but my determination only grew. I grabbed a bottle of Jack Daniels, opened it, and began to sift through the contents of the first envelope. The photos were dated and of high resolution, capturing Sue's face in moments of joy and laughter. Her happiness was so pure that it shattered my heart into a million pieces. I finally mustered the strength to watch the DVD. Although it wasn't as clear as the photos, what I saw drained me completely, leaving me with a cold, bitter emptiness. In that moment, everything I believed about our life together collapsed. As the days passed, my decision solidified. I couldn't forgive Sue. I had given her everything, but she had chosen to give herself to someone else entirely. I resolved to pursue a divorce, making meticulous preparations for the next chapter of my life. I hired a lawyer and completed all the necessary steps while maintaining the facade of a happy marriage. I wanted to make sure that for a while, Sue believed everything was normal. Eventually, I planned a party to celebrate our wedding anniversary. I rented a hall and invited Sue's closest friends and family. That day, I greeted her like the loving husband I once was, showering her with gifts and compliments. But as the night progressed, I discreetly signaled for the DVD to be played. When the footage began, the entire room fell silent. Sue's shocked expression was etched on her face as the reality of her betrayal unfolded before everyone who had once respected her. In that moment, her world crumbled. She collapsed into tears, and I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. My revenge was complete. Sue's life fell apart before my eyes, while I stood at the threshold of a new beginning. Not long after, we signed the divorce papers, and I began my journey into a fresh chapter, free from the pain and betrayal that had consumed me for so long.